Hey guys, and welcome back to another Diablo 3 video. So today it's going to be just a quick little guide on the Demon Hunter. And, well, basically just the build, and this is a build that has really served me very well. It's great in AoE, it's great single target, and overall it's just very versatile, and it's pretty hard to die when you're using it. So, what things am I using? Well, first of all, in terms of skills, we have Entangling Shot with Justice is Served. Entangling Shot is great because, of course, it will slow down enemies, that's fantastic, and then it also changes its damage to fire, which is very good. I'll talk about that later, though. And then, of course, Hatred regeneration is increased by 6, which means that it's a very, very good Hatred regenerator. Exactly what you want. Next, I do the Chakram for my secondary, and I actually use the Twin Chakrams, which is a fire spell. And again, I'll talk about fire later, but essentially this is just fantastic AoE. Like, if you just have a whole bunch of them out like that, everything is going to be hit. It's very, very good. Then I use Vault with Tumble. This is essentially because Tumble means you can use repeated vaults a lot, and if you're really in a sticky situation, you should be fine. And Vault itself is just fantastic for not dying. You know how to use it. It's a very handy spell. Then next I have my Companion, and I personally use the Wolf. The reason I use the Wolf is because, first of all, well, I guess mainly its active ability is a 30% increased damage buff, which is very useful. But then also he does a decent amount of damage on his own. One of the nice things about the Wolf is that if you kite enemies into a small corridor, then the Wolf will actually bottleneck them, and you can just sit there and put in cluster arrows all over them. It's very, very nice. And speaking of cluster arrows, I use cluster arrow with the cluster bomb rune thingy. So this basically does that. It does a lot of damage, it's very good, especially if you can line things up well with enemies. It's very nice with that. And then finally I use Vengeance and Personal Mortar. Vengeance is a level 70 ability, it's really, really good. And as for Personal Mortar, well, I just like having these grenades. They are very, very, very nice. So yeah, overall, it's a nice solid build. Then, in terms of passives, I use Cull the Weak, which increases your damage against slowed enemies by 20%. That's great, because you should have all of your enemies entangling shotted. I then use Archery, which of course is a very nice ability. It's good. Then Steady Aim, which, once again, as long as there are no enemies within 10 yards of you, your damage is increased by 20%, so you want to chain your enemies with Entangling Shot, stay away from 10 yards away from them, and then you will basically, between these two abilities, have an extra 40% damage, which is insane and fantastic. And then finally we have Ambush. Ambush is very good for just dealing initial fast damage against things, which is very nice, especially if that ambush applies to a crit. It's great. So, how do we actually play this? Well, let's just quickly do a challenge mode thing. I'll go to the Old Ruins, see what that's like. Overall, though, this is a really, really, really nice build. The original guy who came up with it is Blue, on the Diablo fans forum, so full credit to him. And I think he has a YouTube channel. It's very small at the minute, but I looked at it and actually he's a pretty good commentator, so I'll link that in the description for the video. Yes, then also in terms of gearing, and I haven't been able to do this yet because of the drops that I've got, but you ideally want to go for anything that increases your percentage fire damage. Of course, with the Chakram and the Entangling Shot doing fire damage, that is very nice. Alright, so let's just nuke these guys down. You just want to keep everything slowed, stay 20 yards away from them, or 10 yards away, so you can get benefit from all that increased damage from our passives. And overall, you can really do work with this build. In terms of the actual difficulty level that I'm on at the minute, it's Torment 1. I can do Torment 2, but just for the sake of this video being a little bit easier to make, I've dropped it down to Torment 1. The only problem that I sometimes have with Torment 2, and it's really just a gear thing, is that it can be a little bit tricky to meet the enrage timers on a few bosses, but like when I focus I can, so overall it's pretty good. And let's just use Vengeance for the fun of it, because for some reason I forgot. It's one of the things about doing the old YouTube commentary. It's kind of hard to stay your full mental capacity. But anyway, this is essentially the build. You do a lot of kiting, you do a lot of slowing, you try to keep yourself 20 yards away from everything, and you should just do very well. I think another thing, a few of my abilities and just stats give me decent life on hit, so those times when you are faced by an absolutely ginormous amount of enemies, you can just use a lot of twin chakrams, and that will give you basically all the regen that you need. So yeah, overall, solid build. I will finish killing this rare, and then we can end the video. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can leave them in the description. And yeah, I'll get back to you. Of course, stay tuned to the channel for more Diablo 3 stuff. It is mainly a World of Warcraft channel, but if any interesting things happen in D3, I'll absolutely show them. So yeah, overall some pretty cool stuff, and let's just finish these guys off. I should really do a hardcore playthrough sometime. I've always been a little bit scared, honestly, to do one. But I think a Demon Hunter is probably a decent class to do it on. Just, like, we've got great survivability when you play it right, using Vault and things like that. But anyway, yeah, it's a really nice build. It's solid, and it's pretty damn hard to die with it. Overall, highly recommended. And that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it useful, and I will see you next time.